This is a story of a man who stood at the dangerous crossroads of American democracy, where votes could cost you your life. This might be where history seems to be repeating itself in our current times. Our story centers around a scholar, a soldier, an organizer, Octavius Valentine Catto. It is entitled Bullets and Ballots. Philadelphia in the mid-1800s was a city of promise and pressure. Cobblestone streets, church steps, classrooms, meeting halls, and always the tension of who was allowed to belong. Into that world stepped Catto, born February 22, 1839, in Charleston, South Carolina, and raised into a life where brilliance wasn't enough. It had to be matched with discipline, strategy, and courage. Catto became a man of many fronts. He was an educator and an advocate. The kind of leader who understood that knowledge wasn't simply personal achievement, it was community defense. He helped found the Banneker Literary Institute, building a space where Black intellect could sharpen itself against a society determined to dull it. He helped shape the Pennsylvania Equal Rights League in 1864, organizing for civil rights when the idea of full equality was still treated like a threat. But Catto did not only teach, he also trained. When war pressed toward Pennsylvania and the country shook under the weight of its own contradictions, Catto moved toward service. He helped recruit and organize Black soldiers, men who would fight for a nation that still questioned their humanity. He served in the Pennsylvania National Guard and helped organize regiments of United States colored troops. In Catto's mind, education and defense were not separate missions. They were part of the same promise, to make freedom real. And then came the test that would cost him everything. Election Day, October 10, 1871. The 15th Amendment had been ratified. In theory, Black men had the right to vote. But in practice, that right had to be fought for at street level, ward by ward, poll by poll, face to face with intimidation dressed up as politics. Philadelphia's air that day was charged. There were rumors of violence, of organized efforts to keep Black voters away from the polls. In neighborhoods where political machines depended on control, the ballot was treated like property, and some believed it was theirs to guard by force. Catto understood what was at stake. He had spent years building institutions, pressing the law, calling people to civic strength. He knew that voting was not simply casting a ballot. It was a public declaration of belonging. And in that era, belonging could get you killed. That day, Catto crossed paths with a man named Frank Kelly, a Democratic operative tied to the violent harassment surrounding the election. It wasn't just an encounter between two men. It was an encounter between two versions of America. One struggling to expand democracy, and one determined to choke it. A shot rang out. The bullet struck Octavius Catto in the heart near his home. The organizer who believed in the ballot, who believed in disciplined progress, in education, in lawful rights, collapsed in the street. He was 32 years old, engaged to be married to Sarah LeCount, a life cut off in the very season he had labored to create. The city grieved. His funeral procession moved down Broad Street to Lebanon Cemetery, with thousands gathering. Students, soldiers, neighbors, and community leaders. Some came in shock, some came in fury. Many came with the heavy understanding that Catto's death was not random. It was political, deliberate, and meant as a warning. And then came the other wound, the wound of the courtroom. Frank Kelly fled to Chicago. Years later, he was returned to Philadelphia to stand trial. Witnesses, Black and white, identified him as the shooter. The facts were spoken out loud. The city listened, and still, an all-white jury acquitted him, not guilty. Two words that told Black Philadelphia and Black America that the law could be bent until it broke, and that the cost would be paid by the people who had the least protection, the least protection, the least protection. But Catto's story did not end with the verdict, because a life like his doesn't disappear. It moves into the community, into the institutions he helped shape, into the people he taught to stand, into the memory that becomes a map for the next generation. Decades later, the O.V. Catto Lodge in Philadelphia was established in his honor, a testament not only to his name, but to the values he embodied: discipline, leadership, education, civic courage, and collective responsibility. His legacy lived in every struggle for fair voting, every push for equal access, every time a person chose to show up anyway. Octavius Catto's life reminds us that democracy is not self-enforcing. Rights do not protect themselves.
Progress is never guaranteed.
It must be organized, defended, and carried forward, even when the cost is high. So tonight we speak his name with clarity and purpose. Octavius Valentine Catto, scholar, soldier, organizer. A man who believed the ballot mattered enough to live for, and whose enemies proved it mattered enough to kill for.
Thank you for visiting our channel. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for more history. This is Nima Barnett.